Very interesting one, as there have been so many questions around Test Manager in the past few months, and today is a chance to get your queries answered. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into chat window. At the end of the Q&A, you can unmute and ask your queries in case that is not answered during the session. We are recording this session and this will be added under the event page after the session. And without much ado, I invite Gernot to take over. Gernot, over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for joining us, and welcome to everybody also from my side. So Test Manager, a few things up front I want to let you know. So what is Test Manager? Test Manager is a new product from Uipath. It's part of the Uipath test suite. It is so new that we really built that from scratch. So it's not one component that we built in the context of another product. So this is one part of the Uipath test suite that really is new. One thing which is important for you to know is we don't have yet a community edition available. It's not in a public way available. So this is a preview session today. We are working on a community edition, but we are not there yet. So it will take another couple of months to get that, make that available. So just in case you're interested in what you see, what I show you today, please just let us know. If you're a customer of Uipath, just get in contact with us via the sales or partner management or whatever, or contact us via ask on the forum if you have questions, or you can contact us also via the website, right? The normal communication channels. So this is it up front. Let's start into the topic. What is Test Manager and why is it important? Why did we build it? So I have a slide here for you that gives you an overview of how it is positioned within the Uipath test suite and in the ecosystem. So the whole picture you see here is more an overview of the ecosystem of the test management inside the ecosystem of a tool landscape in a, let's say, development cycle. So what you can see here is basically on the right-hand side, you see the established and well-known Uipath tools. We have the robots, which allows you to execute automation. You can do that for the RPA purpose. You can test your RPA, and you can also do the traditional application testing with the help of robots. In order to get that orchestrated and executed, or let's get organized how to execute, where to execute, and stuff like that, you use the Uipath Orchestrator. So we build a great extension to the Orchestrator in order to manage and distribute your test executions in there. For the automation itself, Uipath Test Suite comes with Studio Pro. So Studio Pro is a certain licensing model of Uipath Studio. So it's the same studio like always. It serves the purpose of just creating automation. The execution itself is quite often, so this is something which is important about testing, is quite often driven by a CI/CD pipeline. So testing is more triggered through events than it is through scheduling or stuff like that. So if a change is happening on the source code, for instance, you might want to trigger a smoke test, which just gives you a quick answer to the question if somebody major happened and stuff like that. So you can use one of those traditional CI/CD tools like Azure Devops or Jenkins and stuff like that. We have some plugins here also. But this is not the test management part of it. So why test management? So if you take a look on the left side, we have a typical ALM tool landscape. So usually in a development process, you define a backlog. The backlog is an ordered list of capabilities you want to build. And it comes in certain units like user stories or epics or even themes or stuff like that. Or sometimes people prefer to use this traditional kind of requirement object, which just explains a capability. So this is usually done with specialized tools. So for a lot of organizations, Atlassian Jira is the tool you use for defining your backlogs and the capabilities which you want to build. And it's also used for defect tracking. Defect tracking also an important part. So why I'm explaining this in detail is Uipath is not providing any tools for this part of the agile development process or the traditional development process. So there are a couple of tools you can use. ServiceNow, it comes with a component for agile planning where you can manage your backlogs and also your defect. The same holds true for Azure Devops. Azure Devops especially comes with defect tracking and a very powerful component for agile planning as well. ServiceNow also has tools in that area. We have some older legacy tools like Micro Focus ALM, which also has these capabilities, or ALM Octane, QSymphony Qtest. So this covers the area of requirements management, agile planning, and defect management. In addition, there are some plugins for Jira, for instance, for for test management. So Jira comes with certain test management capabilities if you get a plugin from the marketplace like X-Ray or Sapphire or TM4J. So they are the most popular ones there. So there is also some test management capabilities in ServiceNow and in Azure DevOps as well. So this sets the stage for the Uipath test management, which is in the center here. These are represented by the two boxes in the center. Why do you want to do that? So basically, if you just use Studio to create automation for the purpose of testing, and execute those tests via Orchestrator, there is an important part missing in that whole story. It is if you execute a test and you get a result for the test, how do you manage to understand what this means to your backlog? So you have defined certain capabilities in your backlog in your Jira. How do you manage to understand the results and how they affect your backlog in Jira? In the end, you want to know if you have some major problems in your software, and therefore the results have to be somehow mapped to requirements. This might be manageable if we are talking about smaller things like you have, let's say, 50 requirements and have 100 test cases. Even there, it might get somehow complicated. A lot of people do that with using Excel to somehow manage that mapping and understand that. But if you have a really large testing process in place with, let's say, thousands of test cases, or even 500, 600, 700, you might have challenges to manage all that. And this is the main purpose of a test management component, and this is why we build it. In addition, there are some other capabilities I'm going to show you in a second. This is manual testing. We, from Uipath, we are, of course, very focused on automation, but we are aware of the fact that a lot of testing is still done manually for several reasons, and this is totally fair. So not everything can be automated, not everything pays off to be automated, and some things are just not automated yet, but they still need to be tested. And manual testing is something that really needs to be added to all the automation capabilities of a test suite in order to have a working testing and software development process. Let's focus a little bit on the center. What have we built? Basically, all the things that have to do, and this is important to understand, all the things that have to do with requirements management and defect management, we leave it to those specialized tools. So if you have a working process with Atlassian Jira and you think about using the Uipath test suite, you will be able to still use Atlassian Jira. We will not tell you that you have to use a different tool because you want to do testing with the Uipath test suite. The same holds true for defect management. Whatever tool you use, stick with it. If you have a working process, no need to change that. So basically what we do here is we let your requirements in the tool you use know what the testing tells about those requirements. We will tell you what defects have been found. We will create those defects for you, and we will gather all the information from the robots that have been executing the tests, or even, like I just said, from manual tests, and add them to the defects. I will show you that in a second. A little bit more complicated it gets when we talk about test management. So if you have no test management solution in place, so you have been using Excel or something else, which you don't want to continue to use, Test Manager comes with a Test Manager app. This is the top box here. This is a web application which you can use to manage all your testing. So it allows you to map your tests to your requirements. It allows you to see your results, and it allows you to decide which defects you want to create out of your testing results and stuff like that. And the Test Manager Hub component, this is what you see in the green box. This is the glue between the left and the right side. It will just work as a backend service, and it will do all the work. It will get the information from Orchestrator about failed tests and create the defects for you in your system. It will synchronize the status and all that stuff. If you already use a test management solution, so quite popular in the Jira context, it's X-Ray, for instance, or you might use test plans from Azure Devops. Still then, and this is very, very important to understand, you will still be able to use those components, because in that case, you don't have to use the Test Manager app. You can use your existing test management solution like X-Ray, ServiceNow, Azure DevOps, or whatever, and use the automation that comes from the Uipath test suite. Okay, so this is the very quick overview about tool landscape. Okay, so let's jump into demo mode. I think this is what we are up to, so I guess you just want to see it. So let me start the demo here. So let's show you what we have here. So basically, this is a Jira instance I use, and this is what I want to start with. Jira, I just use it here in this demo as my, okay, I guess I have an issue with my internet, no. So I hope you can still hear me. I have some connectivity issues here at the moment, obviously.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Christian. Okay, I will just restart my browser and see if this fixes it. Give me just a second. Okay. So I would kindly ask you to be patient for a second. I seem to have a problem with connectivity at all here. It looks like I have an internet outage on the HTTP, which means I cannot. Okay, your iBank is up.
Gernot, maybe you need to add the port 8443 at the end.
No, it should be fine. I have the port numbers. It's a DNS
no, but you have,
problem.
for you it's 7443.
Yeah, it is 7. Yeah. The orchestrator is on AD, and
okay.
I guess that the virtual machine is not running. It would be great if somebody could check the virtual machine. So I will stop my share, and I will let's take a break of 2 minutes, please.
In the meanwhile, if you have any question, free flow, please go ahead and we will answer.
Okay.
Christian, we have one question from Weber on the chat.
Yeah, so maybe let me quickly talk about this while Gernot is working on it. So there is like 2 ways how you can integrate with Azure DevOps, right? One is the ALM part, where you can use the requirements and defects and so on. And then there is the other part where you want to execute your test cases, which is the Cicd integration. And for the Cicd integration, we have already released this plugin. It's a plugin that you can install for Azure DevOps. And with the 20.10 release, it's also documented. So you can just find this in our documentation. And as soon as the full-blown Azure DevOps ALM integration is released, not sure if this already happened, then of course there will be a documentation available for that as well. Hope this makes sense. Yeah, thanks. So you're not using the ALM part. Then what you're looking for is most likely the Cicd integration. And this is just a plugin that is available on the marketplace for the Azure DevOps plugin section. And you can just install this plugin and then configure the steps, and this is documented. Great. Any other questions meanwhile from anyone? Feel free to unmute yourself as well.
Yeah, guys, go ahead.
Like question Vaibhav here. So sorry, previously was not able to unmute, but now I'm able to unmute. So just want to check one more thing. Do we have any step-by-step guide where if I want to implement or connect this Azure Devops with the test manager for the CI/CD? So do we have any documentation so I can refer? It would be really helpful for me.
This will be in the documentation to show you what you can configure as steps for our plugin. But in general, it is very Azure DevOps sensitive, meaning it is aligned with how Azure DevOps works. So it is not different. You don't need to learn something different than from the usual Azure DevOps plugins that you would have. But I will check if I can find the link later on directly, but otherwise we can share that later on to the documentation for the Azure DevOps plugin. Hope that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, and within my organization, okay, so we already have the like UiPath implemented, but don't have this Studio Pro. Okay, so now want to use the like a trial version for this test manager. So like, what is the process to get a trial version? Actually, because it is not available on community, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe I will talk a little bit for the other guys in terms of details. So as you might have heard, Test Manager is not yet available in the cloud. We focused on on-premise because usually test systems in companies are on-premise anyways, right? So often not even accessible to the production and so on to be on the safe side. So we focused on the on-premise version first. And that means you cannot get it from the cloud. You cannot use a cloud version of it as you can do with the Orchestrator, right, for production. So if you want to try it out on your own, it's easily possible. Just contact your sales representative and they will give you a trial for a long period so that you can directly, and then you get also a link to the installer, and then you can install it on your system with our trial license and should be good to go.
Okay, okay, fine. So you are saying I have to connect to the salesperson, right? For
Yes,
the
yes.
test.
I don't know which one this is in your case, but I guess every company or everyone that already has your Uipath has a sales representative, and they will make sure that you get your trial license as soon as possible. They need to be approved by our sales.
Vaibhav Srivastava, just ping me your email address 101, and I will get you connected with the sales.
Awesome, thank you. And of course, just as a side note, this is only for Test Manager because it's an on-premise solution. If you want to try out Studio Pro or anything related to Studio Pro besides Test Manager, it's available from the community. So if you're using the community edition of Studio, it is automatically the Studio Pro version. So since version 20.4, the community edition of Studio is Studio Pro. And then when you have a trial license for Test Manager, you can just use the community edition of Studio to connect to that and use it. And the plugins for CI/CD are already available for Jenkins. You can find it on the marketplace for Jenkins. Same for Azure. And you can easily install them the usual way you would install plugins. Any other questions from anyone?
So Christian, I just got the message from Gardner that he has an internet outage and DNS is not working.
Yes. So,
so he's trying to restart the router. So yeah.
Yes. So everybody, sorry for the delay. You know, as we're all working from home, internet can always be a hurdle. So please give us a few more minutes so that Gernot can demo everything.
Yeah. Meanwhile, if you have any question, please take this opportunity because we got extra Q&A time.
In the meanwhile, let me go ahead and play one of a test suite video.
Can you play the sound also?
Two parts. There's the so-called.
Maybe put it in full screen.
Hi everyone, let me give you a quick overview of our brand new test management platform called Test Manager. To do that, let's start from the bird's eye perspective. So here is a high-level architectural overview. First, Test Manager comes in two parts. There's the so-called Test Manager Hub and there's the Test Manager app. The Test Manager Hub, that's our backend system, our server component. The Test Manager app, that's our front-end application.
I see Gernot is back, so
It's
I think you may stop it so we can start.
And the Test Manager.
Gernot, you can share your screen now. I hope you can hear us.
Yes, I can.
You are on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
That's great. Okay, I'm so sorry. I had an internet outage, so I'm back online. So let's just continue. We just got my screen back online. Okay. So let's share. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
That's great. Okay. So, Test Manager. What you can see here is the Test Manager web application. It's the on-premise version. Basically, what we can do with it, let's jump right into it. So let me share this with you. So basically, first thing when we start in a testing process, we always talk about requirements. Requirements define certain capabilities I want to implement, like I said. We provide the capability of just creating a requirement in Test Manager. However, it's not the way how we intend to do that. So basically, like I said before, it is important that you can use the tool of your choice to maintain your requirements. The only reason why we have requirements displayed here in Test Manager is we want to be able to assign tests to them. So what do we usually do? Is we create requirements in Jira. Let me just open my project here. I've prepared some project in Jira. And let's say I want to create a user story here, a user story which defines a certain capability. And let's say this is create a new savings account on the UI bank. So we want to save some money. We could give it some description, but let's keep it simple and let's just create that user story. So create new savings account is my, oh, that's a test. I'm sorry, I just used the wrong type. Let's just delete that one again. Let's create something different. Let's create a story called create new checking account. Let's give it some description. And let's just create it. So this is the way how I create my user story in Jira. What happens in the background? What happens in the background actually is This very same requirement gets also created in Test Manager. You will find a little link symbol right beside the name where you can click on and you will jump to your requirement in the particular system you have been creating it. So this does not need to be Jira, like I said. This can also be Azure Devops or ServiceNow in the near future. So what do we have here? We have very basic attributes here. Like I said, the purpose here is not to maintain it. So you will not be able to change anything here. We just represent it here. The only things I can do here is I can add some labels to it if I want to. So these are basically object tabs. Let's say this is a functional requirement. I can just label it to easily find it or stuff like that. I can add some documents here, so attachments, just select something here. This serves the purpose if I have some testing specific to a requirement which I want to have explained, like a price sheet or things like that. And I can do a few more other things. But the main thing is it is connected to my Jira requirement. Okay, so even if I updated somehow here, let's give it a better description as account. I want to create checking account. Let's not make it too complicated. If I update it here, it will get updated here as well. Yeah, so this goes in, it works instantly and works out of the box. So the next thing I would like to do to go further in my testing process, I change to the test cases section. So here basically I find all my test cases and I can search for them or whatever, but let's keep it simple at the moment. Let's just create a very simplistic manual test for it. So let's create a new test here. Create a new checking account. So this is misspelled here. I can add a version here. This is just for my information. I can add some description. I can even add some labels here, but I don't need to do that at the moment. If I open my test case here, I can see that I have basically a blank test case. So first thing I want to do is I want to assign it to one or more requirements. So it's always an important concept. A test case is assigned to requirements which at risk it helps to cover. So I just select it here and now it is assigned to my requirement. So basically, important concepts here. Let's start with a manual process. Let's say I open my Uipath application here. Let's add some manual steps. So the first thing you might want to do, there are several ways to do that. So one very convenient way is you want to just document what you want to do. So we have a very handy tool. You don't need to use it, but it's just something I want to show you because it's so convenient. You can use the task capture tool. So the task capture tool is for download. You can get it from our portal. The task capture tool just allows you to record certain things. So without having to go to all the complexity of creating really a detailed sequence of manual steps. So what I do here is I just start the recording. Let's just switch to the tab. So I go to the Uipath application, I fill out the form, I click on sign in. I create, apply for a new account. I click on apply for a new account. I just give it a name. Let's say this is my new checking account. I select the type here, select type. I don't go through all the process now, it would take too long. But if I just stop the recording here, you can see that it captured all the steps I have. This is just for the purpose of documenting what I did. It should help you to easier create your manual steps. In future versions, we envision that we can create the manual steps out of that, but at the moment it has a certain documentation purpose. So if you select export and publish, you can click on publish to Uipath Test Manager. And what it actually does is it uploads the recording you just did to Test Manager. So I don't need to do anything else here. I can save it locally if I want to, if I later want to change it or something like that, but it's not really necessary. So if I refresh here, oh, okay, it is, oh, okay, here it is. I have two artifacts basically which have been created. I can see a diagram. This is an image I can just look at. This is very simplistic here at the moment because I was only working in Chrome. I could use task capture to refine it a little bit, but I can also download a Word report. This is a Word document basically, which explains exactly the steps I've been carrying out here. And this is some data around it. In the end, it comes with all the screenshots. It tells me exactly where I have been clicking, what I have been entering, and stuff like that. It's just a great help if you create manual tests. So, but the process of creating a manual test is just an example. So it comes in very handy. So let's say we want to, first step is we want to go to the UiBank website, uibank.uipath.com. Let's get the URL into the clipboard. I will exactly show you what that means. So the UiBank portal opens and then click login. Let's just assume that it's the login is already filled out. It's usually not a good practice, but for that, bear with me to save some time. I will not go through the whole process. Then let's say select apply for a new account. And these are the steps that I need to go through in order to define that test. So basically, I can, if I just want to check if this flow is correct, and here comes the magic. You see what I put here in the clipboard data. I use the placeholder clipboard. It is replaced here. Open the URL. What's very convenient about it is what I put in the clipboard data here is already in my clipboard now. You see, I don't have to type it in or copy it somehow. It comes in very handy. So this is basically just to find out if the flow is correct. This is about manual tests. One thing I want to also add here, you see a label is set, it's automatically set, it's tells you that this is a manual test. This is a label, I cannot remove it. It gets automatically set once this test case has at least one manual step. So this is about manual testing. I could add that now to a test set and now somehow schedule an execution of that manual test. But I want to come to automation, and this is one thing that is quite exciting and important. This test case is now linked to a requirement, and I want to automate it. So if I select on the test case the automation tab, there is the information that there is no automation assigned to it. So this is where I have to use another convenient tool, which is the Uipath Studio. So let's jump into it. This is Uipath Studio Pro. This is available in community, by the way, I guess you know already. So this is Studio. This is the tool I use to create automation. So this is the purpose of it. I prepared some project here, and let me just add an automation to the test case we just created. So this is my project. I already prepared everything. This project has a certain configuration. I can show you that. So let's create the checking account test case. So this is my new test case. Let's just do something very simple here. Let's just say, okay, we just do something very quick. I have to save some time since we lost some time before. Let's just compare if 1 equals to 2. This test case will most likely fail, but for the simplicity, it works like that. So create new checking account. My my test case, I set it as publishable. So this is just to do with the fact that I want to push it later to the Uipath Orchestrator. The most important thing is I want to link it to a test in Test Manager now. So for the first time you open that, you will get a login screen. So this is your login to Test Manager, because we want to we want to link that test to Uipath to this test case. That's the GOT42. Again, this is the right project here, and let's just search for the test case, create new checking account. This is the one, the 42, and I can just click OK. And now this test case is linked. I can click here and open test, by the way, and it will open my test case in the browser. But we don't need to use that one. So this is where we started from. My test case now on the automation tab, first of all, it provides some information where this automation has been created. So now I can see I have automation for the test case. This is an automated test case. This is also indicated by, okay, not today. Yeah, here. So we have the label automated. So this test case has manual steps and it has automation attached. So this is a quite convenient thing. So a test case can be automated and manual at the same time, because a lot of times you start with manual testing and you later automate a test case. These labels help you to easily find those. So you can always, if you switch to test cases, you can put a label name here, and you see these test cases are all manual and stuff like that. So this is where we started. So this test case now is, let's remember, it's connected to the requirement. Create new checking account. You can see it here in the list of test cases on the requirement, and it is automated, so it could be executed. So let's go one step further. Let's publish this to my orchestrator. Just publish it there. So once it is published on the orchestrator is basically capable of executing this automation. Let's go through those steps because it's cool to see how this works. So first of all, let's make sure that our test case, that the test case is here. Create new checking account. This test case is here. So as it is here, I have a few steps I need to do in order to be able to execute that test. The first thing I need to do is I have to decide where to execute it and how to execute it. So I have to create a process for that. So this is not part of the test management really, but it is. So I should check which package it is. X-ray integration demo. So let's create a new process. The package is X-ray integration demo. And the environment is my local laptop. This is where it's being executed. So here you basically indirectly select the robot. So we are done for that now. Make sure. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, maybe I don't think I find out now what was missing here. Anyway, somehow I can get my tests here organized in. So I switched to my prepared demo. So you can create test sets where you organize your tests. So as you could see, all my test cases are here. Everything I published from the studio. And I can create test sets here for my test cases. So I prepared one thing here. This is my smoke test. This is my X-ray smoke test. It has some tests already selected, which are executable here. And basically that's it. From a test manager perspective, if I want to execute that, the first thing I have to do is I can execute it right away here. So let's do that. I just execute the smoke test and I can see here how the execution is progressing. Another thing I can see the same thing here in my test manager. So what I can see here is, so the execution has most likely finished already. Yes, now one is still running. Basically, that's it. I have 10 test cases, 2 have failed, and this is the result of the execution. Another convenient option in order to execute the tests is I can link the test sets directly here from Orchestrator. So basically, if I select test sets on the left side and I click on the link button, I see all my test sets from Orchestrator, and I can, for instance, go to my smoke test in X-ray. I see this one is already linked, so I can't link it twice. It doesn't make any sense. But I could also execute the test case with the test set with 10 test cases here by just selecting execute. The actual execution is carried out on Orchestrator. I can jump into Orchestrator and watch the progress here, but I can do the same here in my test manager. Basically, I can see the results arriving once they are finished. I see some progress here. Let's say I have this one failed test case and I want to create a defect for that one. Again, like I said in the beginning, I don't want to manage defects in my test management solution. I want to use my Jira instance to manage my defects. What can I do to do that? I jump into my test result. So the first important thing about the test result here is I have all the steps that have been carried out. I can also see why this test case failed. So there was a comparison, 1 is not equal to 2. So this verification has failed. I see for this failed test execution of this particular test case, I have no defect assigned. I can do that by just selecting create defect here. So what you can see here is GOD 78. This defect has been created, and it has been created in Jira. So what you can see here is you can see that I have a link now on my test execution result, which directly brings me to my test case, to my defect I just created in Jira. The cool thing about it is I get all the information that came from the execution, the robot, and the other thing is I see why it failed. So this is all the information that gets passed over to the developer, for instance, who wants to find out what was actually happening here. So since I had some problems before creating this automation in Orchestrator, I could not show that, but it's quite important to understand that if we have some screenshots, so usually when you execute a UI test case and it fails, or if you configure the automation the right way, it generates screenshots whenever an execution fails. This screenshot would be displayed here. In that case, we don't have one. But this screenshot would also get uploaded here and show up here. So the confirm email test case failed. And also in that case, I cannot show you, but believe me, it's true. If this test case was assigned to a requirement, this assignment would show up here as well. So the defects are always assigned to the requirements the test case was assigned to. And that's basically it for this type of integration. So this covers a very, let's say, fundamental concept of testing and development and how they interact with each other. To wrap it up, we started with a requirement, which we created in Jira. We synchronized this requirement to Test Manager. This happened in the background automatically. It was the create checking account. We were able to assign a test case to this requirement. We were able to create manual steps in this requirement. We could attach automation to this requirement, to this test case. We can execute it via Orchestrator. We get the results back in Test Manager, and we are able to create defects directly from the results in Jira back as well. And this closes the loop in the end, and you get a comprehensive overview of what happened actually during testing and what does it mean to your requirements. So I will skip the part of how this is configured and how those systems, Test Manager, Jira, and all that stuff is interlinked with each other, because I want to show you one more thing. One more thing I want to show you is the second level of integration. Like I told you, you can use the Test Manager application to manage all your testing while getting the requirements synchronized from an external system and the defect synchronized to the external system. But what do you do if you already have a test management solution? Let's, for instance, use X-Ray. X-Ray is a plugin from the Atlassian marketplace. Yeah, so you can just plug it into your Jira instance and manage all your testing within Jira. It still works. So what's the benefit of using Test Manager Hub with such a test management solution? The benefit is an X-Ray plugin comes without automation. If you want to get all the benefits that come with the strong automation capabilities of your Uipath, let's just use X-Ray for managing the testing and add the automation capabilities with the help of Test Manager Hub. And like I explained in the very beginning, you will not need to use Test Manager, the web app at all. You will just use the backend. So let me show you how this works. Let's create a new test. Yeah, so this is a test. The test artifact type in Jira comes with the X-Ray plugin. It's already installed here in the system. So let's say this is just a type of automation. It's just an automated test case. So let's say it's an example test case from X-Ray. Yeah. Let's just create that test here. I could use X-Ray to add manual steps. So X-Ray comes with a very nice manual execution assistant as well. But what if I want to automate that? So let me show how this works. Automation is done with Studio. So let's open Studio and create a new test case. We do the same thing like we did before. Let's link it to our test we just created in X-Ray in Jira. Let's see if we can find it. Example automated test trace from X-Ray. I just selected, click OK, and they are linked. So let's jump back to X-Ray, to the test case, and let's see what changed. What you can see here is we have a custom field here, which is labeled Uipath automation. And we can see the information that an automation has been attached to this test case. It was very easy. I just selected and now it's attached. And guess what happens when I execute this test case? So I think we should not go through the whole cycle with Orchestrator again. Let's use an example we already have. So let's say I execute this test case with Orchestrator. What happens actually is all the results which happen to be generated by the execution through the robots through Orchestrator get pushed back into X-Ray again. So again, I see all the results like I saw them before in the test manager. I now see the results in X-Ray. So I can use Test Manager Hub to attach automation to test cases and receive all the results with all the details, all the screenshots, all the steps that have been carried out, all the verifications that have been done back in X-Ray to use all the capabilities of X-Ray to report on that. So let me just jump into let me just jump into one of those test cases. So here you see this test case has been executed several times here. It has been executed every time through Orchestrator. It failed all the time. So I can jump to execution details here and I will find all the details about the particular execution. So here one verification has failed. If there are some screenshots, I will find them in the evidence box here on the right side. So I have a full cycle of test management also with external tools. And the good news is it works exactly the same way if you use Azure Devops. We are about, in a couple of weeks, we will be releasing ServiceNow. no matter which tool you integrate, if we support that tool, you can use it like you just would use the test manager web app from Uipath. You get the convenience of having all this automation and reporting capabilities. Okay, so this was quite a lot so far. I have one last topic which I want to cover. This is reporting. I want to cover that because it's a very important topic. It's one of the most challenging topics for a testing organization, for the test management, because in the end, the report tells you what's going on. And we have been thinking a lot about how we do it right and how can we do it in a way that is best for you as a customer. And we came up with the following solution. In Test Manager itself, we have a very, very shallow reporting. So you only have this dashboard here. So actually what you can find here is you can find the history of your executions over days. You can switch to a weekly view as well if you want to find out what happens over the weeks. But basically here you can see how your testing evolves over time. So I've been doing some executions here during the last days. There was the weekend. So these are the two last weeks, basically. We provide some KPIs. We provide a link to critical defects. So if you have some defects which are classified as critical, which came out from testing results. Here you will find the link here. At the moment, I have none here in this project. The total coverage, this is just the percentage of your requirements which are covered by test cases. So I have to improve here definitely. 25% is not a lot. That's because I'm too much demoing with that system here. And I have an automation rate of 80%, which just means that 80% of my test cases could run automated. It might also mean that they can be run manual at the same time. Like I said, they can be both. But this just counts the automation. So it just tells me how much of my portfolio can be executed automatically. And on the list below, I can find all the test runs that factor into the data you see in the diagram above. But that's it. So basically what you have here is it's the name of the test set always that has been executed. The source orchestrator, if it's automated. If you execute manually, it would have source test manager set here. How many test cases, how long did it take to execute, and what's the status of it. So you will also find tests, executions that have not been finished. They will be pending or running here or whatever. So it's more or less real time. But in the end, your requirements regarding reporting might be more extensive. Yeah, so this dashboard gives you a nice overview. You can show it, you can share it. But in the end, we found out that reporting is highly specific and individual to the needs of customers. And what we decided to do is we created a data source. This is a data source that can be used through third-party reporting tools. The reason why we did that is most of the customers, or almost all of the customers we've been talking to, already have some reporting tools they are using. One of the most popular ones is, by the way, Power BI. So I created an example in Power BI. So what I actually did here is I used the data source we provide for reporting purposes to just rebuild the dashboard we saw with a little bit of additional stuff. Okay, so I just built it here. Let's take a look at the data source we have. So these are the tables which are exposed via the data source. This is the data source which I can use. You can use this data source you see here by any tool that is capable of establishing a native SQL Server connection or an ODBC connection. So one of the both things you need, native SQL Server connection is preferred, of course, because it's a lot faster. Basically, what you see here is the raw data that comes from Test Manager. So this comes from the database on the back end of Test Manager. Power BI is quite convenient. I don't want to talk too much about Power BI. You can add some artificial tables. This is, for instance, a table I just created. It holds a date for every day. This I need that for my diagrams. Here you find all the test sets. You find all the links to the defects in a table that have been created. You find all the projects, all the requirements that have been linked or created. This is something I'm experimenting with. You find some single values I added here. So I added them just here in the Power BI. These are the tables from my data source. So this is basically the data I can work with in order to generate my reports. What it comes down to in the end is all the data I can stuff it into my diagrams. And this is very convenient. I have a huge set. There is even a kind of a marketplace where you can add different types of diagrams which visualizes the data I just showed you. So I just created this bar diagram which just shows you some results. The latest results is very simplistic. It just tells you about all the test cases I have, what was the latest result from the latest execution, and that's it. So how can I use that? Basically, I can upload this report to a Power BI server, which I might have running so it can be used as an online report real-time solution which updates itself, or I can use Power BI desktop like I do it here, and I can publish it. So I will publish it to the cloud, to my private workspace. This is my Power BI workspace, which I use for demoing. You might have other solutions in place with your Power BI in your organization. Basically, the upload was successful now, and I can click on the link here, or I can just open it. And this is the Power BI cloud. And this is the report, how it looks like. So the data has been uploaded. You can watch it in the browser, and this is quite convenient. I configured some filters here, so you can select the projects you want to include or exclude here, and you get the updates in real time here. You can even select certain test sets you want to filter here. You can specify a date range or stuff like that. There it gets a little bit more into detail. I have to work a little bit on the visual design here, but this is also something quite nice. It tells me which executions are factored into that. So there are vast of options. A vast majority of options are really exciting here. A lot of people are asking us how about exporting it or publishing it. It depends on the tool you use. So you can see here, for instance, Power BI allows you to export a PDF. You can directly get it into a PowerPoint. You can publish it to a website and stuff like that. So this is really comprehensive, and this is one thing that I want to close with the topic. This is the reason why we decided to go that route to rely on third-party solutions for reporting is the requirements around reporting are quite complex. They need a lot of customization for your particular situation as a customer. And usually we want, and this is the spirit behind all the test suite, the test management component in particular, we want to enable you to continue the tools of your choice, your preferred tool even for test management. We just want to augment it or provide something if you don't have a test management solution in place. In terms of reporting, we assume you do already reporting. Use the tool, use a Tableau, use a ClickView or whatever you use. Connect it to the data source. There is nothing you will miss there. You will find everything and you will have all the reporting capabilities. So this is what I wanted to share with you. This was a very, very quick overview over the test manager, about the why and the what. And I'm happy to answer your questions. Maybe I don't know, Christian, what are the most common questions so far?
So I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Most of them I already answered, but there's a few that came in that are not yet answered. So one question was, how do you actually integrate with Power BI reports and to Test Manager reports?
So basically, it's what I showed you just. Sorry. So Power BI, you can create any report in Power BI. We only provide the data source. Yeah, we provide the raw data. It's structured and it's stable. Yeah, this is what we have for you. So you will be notified if we change something in the data source. But that's it. So we will provide, by the way, this report. I will polish it a little bit, make it a little bit prettier, and we will publish it somewhere to download. So you can use this as a template or an example how to work with it. Okay.
Yeah, there was another question that is not related to Test Manager. Can I test an automation on an iOS app or an Android app? And yes, you can do. We have since 20.4 the new mobile automation capabilities. And there already was a community session about that where I demoed that. So if you just use the link that we have for this older session, you can easily watch this webinar. We also have a lot of sources in our YouTube channel. So there's a lot of sources already out there that you can follow up on that, how this works and what it can do. Then there was another question, why we can't use Insights instead of another BI tool.
We have a plan to use Insights, but simply to be honest, there is some way to go to integrate that. We are not there yet, but it is planned. It's not scheduled yet because there are a lot of things we have to look into, but expect it to be in the future available as well.
Okay. Then there is another question from Kpis. Could you please show the actual detailed results, which is having the screenshots?
Okay. Yes, I can try, but I will have to find an example for that because my own automation didn't work. Let's check if I can find one for you. Let's see here. You, by the way, you see Source Test Manager. These are manual. Let me check what we have here. And I'm not sure about those ones. I'm going to do something now because I know I have a colleague who is usually rich in screenshots where I know where to find them. So let's take that one, for instance. No, not that one. So let's try that one. It's a little bit a pity. You find me in a situation where I cannot create a screenshot because I cannot create a new test case, which actually creates one. That's a little bit of a hassle at the moment, but usually I can find one. No, there's nothing here. Where are my screenshots? You see that colleague is testing a lot. Let's take a random one. Oh, I guess this one is as well. I think I have to owe you that one because I cannot find an example. I have examples, quite a lot of them, but I can't find them at the moment. I wanted to show you that. Oh, maybe that one. Let's get that one. Yeah, here we go. So let's go with that one. So this is my screenshot. It just shows something. I can. This is a failed test case. Let's just create a defect out of that. So it's the UD80. Let's go with that one. So here comes your screenshots and Jira. Here we go. By the way, you can also add screenshots when you're executing manually. I did not show you that to save some time, but you can do that as well. Okay, any other questions?
Yes, there was another question in the chat about licensing, which was already answered, but I think just to make sure there's no confusion, could you quickly talk about the licensing of Test Manager? Yeah,
licensing is similar. It's a named user licensing. So you get licenses for each user account which is active. You have the capability of deactivating users so they don't consume licenses anymore. So it's the number of active users that get licensed. I hope this answers your question.
And how about if I'm using X-Ray and not the front end?
Sorry?
And what about if I'm only using X-Ray and I'm not interested in the front end?
You can, so then you only need the licenses for Studio, and you'll need only that one user that does some configuration on Test Manager. You don't need a Test Manager named seed license for every X-Ray user.
Okay, great. I hope this answers the questions around licensing. There was another one about why we need the dependency for Jira defects and if there is a plan in the future to include that in Test Manager itself.
There are no plans. So the simple reason is almost all organizations who do software development have a preferred solution for defect management. We follow the route to integrate with the market leading solutions here. So it is somehow not part of a test management solution to have a fully fledged defect integration. We have some information about defects for the reporting purposes. This is fair, but we want to enable, in first place, our customers to use the really market leading solutions in terms of test management. That's the reason why we have followed this strategy. Okay.
And there was another question. Is there a plan to enable Test Manager for multiple orchestrators / tenants? As per our understanding, currently Test Manager can be connected to only one tenant.
Yes, there are plans around that. We are working on that. We understand the necessity. At the moment, you can work around it to install several instances of Test Manager. So it's relatively lightweight, so it's not a heavy application, but we are working on that, multi-tenancy, sure. And we will also have that on the cloud, but maybe I can tell you something about the cloud as well.
Okay, I think that's all the new questions. There is one that I think could be interesting. I answered it in a chat. But I think it's good if you talk a little bit about that. The question was, can you integrate with multiple systems like Jira and ServiceNow at the same time?
It depends on what you mean by multiple. So I can show you how it works. So basically, you have the concept of projects in Test Manager. Yeah. If you talk about an instance of Test Manager with, I don't know, I have 16 projects here. I only show my favorites here. You can connect each project to a different defect management system or test management solution or whatever. But you cannot mix them up within the same project. In certain circumstances, this is possible. So let's, I can show you that. Basically, the integrations depend on those connections. Some connections can only be one in a project. Some can be multiple. It depends a little bit, but we did not identify a viable use case for that, to be honest. If you have several requirements management systems you want to use, this would be fair enough. You can add several here. Yeah, but we don't see this as a very popular use case. In terms of defect management, it's a little bit complex because you would create defects, one and the same defect in multiple systems. So technically, we would not hesitate to allow it, but we did not identify the correct use case for that at the moment. But within an instance, different projects can connect to several systems, no problem. Hope this answers the question.
Yes. Okay, there's another question, multiple actually. So one was, can we extract an execution report in any other format like PDF for sharing it with stakeholders or business?
It depends on the solution you use. So Power BI can export almost everything. So like I showed you, here you go. PowerPoint, you can embed it into an external website and stuff. But Test Manager itself does not at the moment support any export of reports or stuff like that.
Then there was a little bit unrelated question that I answered, but only in the private chat by accident. The question was if we are currently working on a best practices guide on RPA testing. And yes, we do. We are we'll even have a kind of a webinar very soon where we have a best practices guide for the whole story. So for RPA testing and application testing, including the test manager, the whole process from getting your requirements, using test manager, using reusability, our share reuse and update concept, executing them in Orchestrator, and then seeing the results. So there will be a separated webinar on that. So stay tuned. We will send out an invite for something like this, or send it as a YouTube video. We don't know for sure yet, but there will be something out there. Okay, there was another question. Let me check. For organizations where there is no defect or requirement management tool, does Test Manager match the features enough to cover the functionalities that Jira or ServiceNow would cover?
No, so the answer is no. So you have a very limited support for requirements. You can create requirements here and you will be able to manage it. But this is not meant to be something that scales. If you always have to expect that your projects are progressing and they increase in size. So we would really encourage you to look at the market. What are the solutions which are quite common? By the way, you can switch to different solutions. If you select one and you don't like it, there is a way how you can switch. It doesn't tie you to that one solution. It's like those modern SaaS-based solutions, they are interchanged quite often. So this is possible, but we will not provide it out of the product, especially in terms of defect management. This is complex. This is something we leave to the specialists. Okay.
Okay, I think that's it so far. Is there any other questions from anyone? Feel free to unmute and ask them directly. Otherwise, I think it's on point, right?
Yeah. So let me
covering everything.
Just close with my apologies for the internet outage. I'm very sorry. Like a lot of people, we are all at the home office, and I have my private internet connection here just failed in the wrong moment. Very sorry for that, but I hope there was enough for you to take away from that meeting. If you have still questions,